welcome to a brand new episode of Health 360. This week we are putting the focus, the spotlight on several issues concerning women, their mental health, their physical health, their sexual wellness, the choices that they've made in their lives, late pregnancies for example, and what are the most frequently asked questions around their health and their well-being. I'm Sneha Mordani. This is Health 360. Women today are faced with a host of choices. Choices in their personal lives and their careers, which also involves their health. For example, many women are choosing not to have children. Why is that happening? A lot of women are going in for late pregnancies, even after the age of 35, 38, and even above the age of 40. What are the choices before them as far as fertility is concerned? Also, this report by Chetna focuses on infertility in women. We're exploring all of this in this special segment.
Infertility is a battle many women have faced behind closed doors. The silent struggle of facing familial pressure and societal stigma can be immense. One such woman is Geeta. In almost 2 decades of marriage, Geeta had longed for a child of her own. It's only after consulting a fertility specialist that Geeta realized what was amiss.
जब टेस्टों में उसमें आई तो हमारी ट्यूब ब्लॉक आई थी, तो उसके लिए डॉक्टरों ने बोला ऑपरेशन करवाने के लिए। हमने ऑपरेशन भी करवाया, लेकिन फिर भी हमें कुछ भी सफलता नहीं मिली। फिर एक डॉक्टर थे, उन्होंने बताया कि आपको ऐसे सफलता नहीं मिलेगी, आप IVF करवाएं तो उससे आपको सफलता मिल जाएगी।
Geeta had opted for IVF, a type of treatment through assisted reproductive technology. But Geeta's IVF journey was marred with difficulties. After years of persistence, Geeta finally conceived.
मैडम के यहाँ पे उन्होंने हमारा ट्रीटमेंट करा, जो भी हमारी दिक्कत परेशानी चल रही थी, हमारी बॉडी के अंदर टेस्ट वगैरह सब कुछ करवाए उन्होंने, सब कुछ नॉर्मल हो गया। तब हमारा IVF उन्होंने करा और हमको सक्सेस भी हो गया। उसके बाद हमको 2 बेबी हैं, एक बेटा है, एक बेटी है। आज हम बहुत खुश हैं।
Geeta's story is one of resilience, and she urges other women to hold their head high when dealing with infertility.
अपने डॉक्टर से मिलें और अपनी सही जांच करवाएं, समय से अपना भी ध्यान रखें और अपने अच्छे से उनके पास जाके अपनी संतुष्टि लेके उनसे बात करके अपनी जांच करवा के इस काम को करवाएं तो ज़्यादा बेहतर रहेगा। मन उदास करके घर नहीं बैठना चाहिए, हिम्मत नहीं हारनी चाहिए।
This was Geeta's success story, but female infertility is a topic that is still shrouded in taboo, as is infertility in men. Given how female infertility rates are surging thanks to the environment, it is imperative to put the spotlight on it. The figures are startling. India alone has about 27.5 million infertile individuals, males and females. India essentially accounts for 25% of all infertile people across the globe. WHO says that 1 in every 4 couples in developing countries is affected by infertility. 1 in every 15 Indian couples suffers from infertility. When it comes to India, WHO estimates that about 11.8% of women suffer from infertility. There are many causes to infertility, like unhealthy lifestyle habits which include smoking and drinking, obesity, fast foods, and hormonal imbalance.
Hormonal imbalance is basically caused by several other factors such as thyroid dysfunction, PCOD, hyperprolactinemia, or maybe premature ovarian failures. So to diagnose such condition, we need to take a proper history of the patient, whether the menstrual cycles are regular or not, and we have to do certain hormonal tests and ultrasound scans to make a diagnosis of ovulatory dysfunction. Now coming up to the tubal factors. Tubal factors, tubes can be blocked or it can be dilated, such as in the cases of hydrosalpinx, or it can be congenitally absent. So in all these cases, to diagnose such condition, we need to take a proper history from the patient. Is there any history of pelvic inflammatory diseases or any sexually transmitted diseases? Or is there any history of tubal surgery related to ectopic pregnancy in the past?
Experts say that a woman's peak reproductive years are between early and late 20s. At the age of 30, there is a 75% chance to conceive within the first 12 months. By the age of 35, conception rate drops to 66%, and by the age of 40, it drops to 44%. This is caused by the effect of aging on ovaries and the eggs.
In a woman's fertile history, she ovulates about 400 to 500 times in total. Now, at the age of 25, when we have a girl, in each cycle, she will have about 25% chances of conceiving. In a year, she forms eggs about 10 to 12 times. Maybe all the cycles are ovulatory, or maybe only 9 to 10 cycles are ovulatory, and rest are anovulatory. Now, as the age advances, the number of ovulatory cycles reduces, and thereby each month the percentage of conceiving chances also reduce.
These numbers could sound debilitating, and infertility can be emotionally taxing, but lakhs of Indian women have found hope in the country's burgeoning fertility market. Female fertility options include fertility medications to stimulate ovulation, that is the release of the egg, intrauterine insemination or IUI, fertility restoration surgery to treat uterine conditions, or assisted reproductive technology like in vitro fertilization. The fertility sector has grown 20% between 2018 and 2022 and is set to flourish even more with increasing number of individuals opting for fertility treatments like IVF. The IVF services in India are expected to rise with the growing infertility rates, rising trend of late pregnancies, surge in IVF success rate, and rise in disposable income. It also helps assist LGBTQ couples and single mothers. With the growing trend of delayed childbirth, many women are opting for treatments like IVF to take control of when to become a mother. Egg freezing, also known as oocyte cryopreservation, a method for women to essentially preserve their fertility. Experts suggest that the ideal time to freeze eggs is between early 20s to early 30s.
So mostly nowadays what we see in our infertility clinic is most of the women are working, they are career oriented, they want to delay their pregnancy till their mid-30s, and definitely they are delaying their pregnancy because of their career reasons.
In fact, women seem to be adopting a movement known as antinatalism, where millennial women, now more than ever, are choosing to live a child-free life. Many women see it as liberating, having control over their lives and prioritizing professional and personal goals, instead of choosing to go through childbirth. Childbirth, tied with gender wage gap, could also be a factor affecting this choice. Many women feel that this is a way to break out of the societal stigma or the pressures around opting out of motherhood. Some may cite financial constraints, long-term physical and mental commitments. But whatever the choice may be, it is important to remember that choosing or not choosing to have children is and should remain a personal choice. With video journalist Deepak Bisht, this is Chetna Vasudevan for India Today.
When it comes to women's health, the tendency is to prioritize their physical health and yes, sometimes their mental health. But what about wellness? Wellness is equally important. And when we talk about wellness, sexual wellness is on top of our priority list. And that's the reason why my colleague Kshitija Gosavi is delving deep into the issue of sexual wellness, exploring this topic of sexual intimacy, authenticity, and pleasure. Take a look.
Sexual health is an integral part of overall well-being, and yet it remains shrouded in secrecy and stigma, particularly for women in a country like India. India's sexual wellness game, which has by far been lame, is now picking pace. WeHub.ai, an influencer marketing platform, reveals doctors and influencers in the sexual wellness, menstrual hygiene, and fertility segments have seen a 50 to 100% rise in their following on social media in the year 2023. In 2020, India's sexual wellness industry was valued at $1,153 million. Growing at a CAGR of 5.8%, the industry is expected to cross $2,000 million by 2030, according to a report by Allied Market Research. The conversation around sexual wellness is gradually steering from safe sex to sexual pleasure. There's growing awareness about the pleasure inequality among men and women. And talking about pleasure are companies like the Sangya Project, which is pioneering the sexual wellness revolution. India Today caught up with Shweta Sangtani, who co-founded the Sangya Project in 2021.
The way female sexuality has been approached has been with a lot of shame. We have predominantly, by way of decades of conditioning, only been taught that anything to do with sex is only for reproduction purposes. Whereas it is not so, right? Regardless of the gender, but especially for women in this country, we've only been taught to grow up, get married, and sex is only for the purposes of making children. And it is so important to have these conversations now to also navigate that part of our lives, which is pleasure, which every single woman, as much as a man, feels.
Sex toys have emerged as valuable tools for enhancing sexual pleasure and addressing specific health issues. They can help women explore their bodies, increase sexual satisfaction, and even assist in overcoming certain intimacy challenges like difficulties with arousal and orgasm. Hygiene and safety should always be prioritized when using these aids to prevent infections.
We have a variety of sexual toys available in market, but be very careful about buying. It should be non-traumatic. The chemical should be such that it should not harm your internal part of the body. It should be reusable in such a way that you can clean it, wash it properly, so that the sexual hygiene practices are maintained. Many times, if they are not followed, it may cause infection.
Women's sexual wellness is a holistic term that encapsulates intimacy, pleasure, health, and the tools and knowledge needed for a fulfilling sexual life. It's about addressing challenges, exploring solutions, and ensuring safety in the realm of sexual health. This includes health concerns as well. Intimacy issues are multifaceted, often stemming from emotional, physical, and relational factors. Types of intimacy problems include lack of sexual desire, difficulties with arousal or achieving orgasm, and pain during intercourse. Emotional closeness issues, often influenced by stress, anxiety, or past traumas, can also hinder fulfilling sexual relationships. What then are doctors advising?
This is a common issue that there is a part of a kind of inhibition because of our socio-cultural and family upbringing that we don't discuss this openly. So we have to start from the periphery, that is, start talking about her overall sexual practices, how often she does this, and then come to her desires and her likings. When she opens up about her likings, that is the area whether we have to ask her whether she gets satisfied according to her desires and likings, whether she has a partner with whom she has a bonding and kind of a faith wherein there is a mutual respect for each other, that social justice is given to her as a woman.
Regular screenings, safe sex practices, and open dialogue about STI status with partners are crucial for prevention. Vaccinations and treatments are available for some STIs, highlighting the importance of awareness and proactive health management.
Women's sexual health is not just about avoiding diseases or enhancing pleasure. It's a comprehensive approach to health that includes emotional, physical, and relational well-being. Education, communication, and proper healthcare resources empower women to take charge of her sexual well-being. With video journalist Deepak Bish, this is Kshitija Gosavi for India Today.
Let's now get you a lowdown of the most frequently asked questions when it comes to women's health. Now, when women reach the age of 40, their body undergoes several changes. And many women ask after the age of 40 and when they're hitting their 50s, what can they do? What's the kind of special care required to keep them healthy? Listen in.
Here are some essential tips. During menopause, the risk of bone loss increases. To avoid this, start and maintain a weightlifting routine to strengthen your bones. Next, ensure adequate calcium intake. 1000 milligram daily up to the age of 50 and 1200 milligram daily for women above 50. Secondly, be regular about your health checkup.
Also, a lot of misconceptions around endometriosis. So we asked our experts, what is it? What are the symptoms of endometriosis? And what can women do to ensure that they live a fairly normal and healthy life, if at all they're diagnosed with endometriosis? Listen in.
Endometriosis is an often painful condition in which tissues that is similar to inner lining of the uterus grows outside the uterus. It often affects the ovaries, fallopian tubes, and the tissue lining the pelvis. Endometriosis tissues act as a lining of the uterus. It thickens, breakdowns, and bleeds with every menstrual cycle. But it grows in the places it doesn't belong, and it doesn't leave the body. Common symptoms of endometriosis include painful periods, pain during or after sex, pain with bowel movements or urination, heavy menstrual period or bleeding between periods.
Health is not just about your physical well-being. Health has also got to do with your mental state of mind. Detachment is important. Here's what our experts have to say about detachment.
Detachment does not mean disconnecting from the outside world. This means letting go of the dependence on others for your happiness. It is the ability to create joy and meaning every day for yourself. It can be something as simple as listening to a song which you liked when you were younger or reconnecting with old friends. The idea is to not allow your emotional state to be codependent.
And joining us today is Dr. Tanaya Narendra. She's also very popular as Dr. Cuterus. On Instagram, she puts out these fabulous videos and simplifies complicated health stories like nobody else does. She is a doctor and an educator and talks about all things reproductive health, sex. Her content, her videos, extremely relatable. And this young influencer puts out on Instagram, she's got 1.5 million followers and counting. Thank you so much, Dr. Tanaya, for your time. And thank you for the work you do.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
You know, I want to begin by asking you, we're talking about women's health. Yes, we're commemorating International Women's Day. What I want to know is that, what is it that women want to know from you? They often are hesitant to ask, but what are the most common queries that come your way?
In a very disheartening way, the most common queries tend to focus around body image issues, how they can change how they can change the size of certain parts of their body, how to make parts of the body lighter, how to make it bigger, how to make it smaller. A lot of queries around periods, a lot of queries around fertility, a lot of queries around sex. There is a whole lot of unexplored territory in this area, basically.
You know, I do see these questions online very often about women when it comes to their sexual wellness. A lot of women talk about the fact, and they're very, uncomfortable about it, that beyond a point, while having sex, they're not feeling aroused enough, they're not getting wet enough. Some of them start to worry about the fact that, am I going to hit menopause? What is going wrong with me? I'm not even 40 yet. You know, these are a lot of questions that women ask. You know, what do you have to tell them about this particular problem as far as their sexual wellness is concerned?
I wouldn't go so far as to call it a problem, actually, because not experiencing complete wetness all the time is something that happens to everybody at some point in their lives. It has nothing to do with age. the likelihood of that happening definitely does go up as you grow older and as you get closer to menopause, because there is a change in the hormones in the body that lead to all of this juiciness. But sometimes you don't have that, and that's okay. It's because hormones change and fluctuate so much in women's bodies with the monthly cycle. It's totally normal to experience this, and in case somebody is experiencing this, they can use simple water-based lubricants that are very helpful.
Okay, nothing to worry about, so to speak. What role has stress got to do with this particular issue?
So if you're very, very stressed, you will see that your libido has gone down.
True.
And libido is very strongly linked to the amount of juiciness your body can produce. If you have a lower libido, the likelihood of you producing less of the arousal fluid is going to be higher. So if we can manage stress a little bit, if we can add a little bit more joy to the idea of sex, and if we can add a little bit more relief maybe to the idea of sex, it can automatically increase the amount of lubrication somebody is going to feel. It can increase the amount of joy somebody is going to feel, and it can also just lead to a healthier, happier sexual encounter.
Just a lot of people say don't use anything apart from water. Your vagina is made in such a way that it can clean by itself. This is actually a very frequently asked question, and I would want you to answer that, please.
I have my handy little model to explain this. I think one thing that is very important, and one thing we confuse a lot in our understanding of the female body, is that we don't know the difference between the external genitalia and the internal genitalia.
Okay.
So if I were to show you my nose, when you see my nose, you're not seeing the inside of my nose. The same way, if you see the genitals on the outside, what you see is called the vulva, and the inside part, like the same way as I have a canal on the inside of my nose, we have a canal on the inside, which is called the vagina. The vagina is not the external genitalia. It is completely okay to use any mild soap to wash your vulva. I personally recommend just water, but if soap has been working fine for people, don't fix something that's not broken. What should not be done absolutely is inserting anything inside the vagina. So inserting a soap-covered finger or even inserting water inside is a bad idea. The vagina has a natural colony of good bacteria that help keep it clean. So there's a specific acid that's a specific pH that's meant to be maintained over there. The good bacteria has to be maintained over there. The moisture has to be maintained over there. And using soap can strip all of this away. Or even water. So the vagina has to be left alone. It's a self-cleaning oven. And the vulva can be cleaned with plain water. And if somebody especially wants to use it, they can use simple, mild soap that is not very heavily fragrant.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Tanaya. It was a pleasure having a chat with you. And we hope to see you more on India Today. Well, that brings us to the end of this edition of Health 360. We hope you enjoyed watching the show as much as we did, putting it together for you. We also hope you found it informative. You can find this report and much more up on India Today's website, which is indiatoday.in. All of Health 360's reports around health and wellness can be found on India Today's social media platforms, which are Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Until next time, take care of yourself. Bye for now.